The long-awaited release of Apple Intelligence has finally arrived this week, with many iPhone users updating their devices and some rushing out to get the 16. But the bigger deal to millions of hearing-impaired Americans is AirPods being FDA approved as over-the-counter hearing aids. Here to talk more about that is editor at Tom's Guide, Kate Kozuch. Kate, great to see you. This is a really interesting feature, and Apple has really leaned into health for a number of years now, but finally it appears they stuck the landing. What did the FDA say?
So there's actually two aspects of FDA authorizations that Apple has received. The first is for a hearing test that is on par with an audiogram that you would receive at an audiologist. The second part of that is the FDA first-time clearance for hearing aid software, for over-the-counter hearing aids specifically. And why that's a big deal is because that means that a product that is already out on the market can receive an over-the-air update to work as hearing aids.
That is remarkable. Now, big distinction here. There are new AirPods that came out. That's not what we're talking about, correct?
That's correct. You're referencing the AirPods 4 that launched in September. Those are not the model that are compatible with these new features. We're going to be looking at specifically the AirPods Pro 2 that released in 2022, that have already been out and that millions of Americans already have.
That is really interesting that they did not include it in the new update. Why is that? It's the seal that is different with the new versus these models.
I'll take it out so you can see. AirPods Pro 2 have a little silicone tip that create a perfect seal for active noise cancellation and creating a more balanced experience between what's happening in your ears and what's being picked up in your environment. And in order for hearing aids to work effectively, you need that true seal. So that's why. However, I'd like to point out that because AirPods Pro 2 have been on the market for several years now, they're not at the same $250 MSRP from launch. You can actually often find them under $200, which isn't that far off from the price of the AirPods 4 with active noise cancellation.
Even greater news for hearing impaired Americans. All right, tell us how this works, Kate.
So as I mentioned, we're going to start with the hearing test. And how that works is you're going to put the AirPods in your ear, as so. You'll hear the little chime letting you know that they're in effectively. And then in the settings of your iPhone, you'll see a section for AirPods. And there's this new section down here for hearing health specifically. You're going to want to take a hearing test. And we can't do it here on the floor because it's a little bit noisy. You're going to want to make sure that you're in a completely silent environment for this to work.
Just for the test, not for the actual usage. Okay?
Absolutely, just for the test. And to make things easy, your AirPods will actually be listening for the environmental sounds, and you won't even be allowed to start taking the test until it clears the sound and says you're all good, it's quiet enough.
Okay.
From there, you're going to go through a series of chimes, first starting with your left ear and then going to your right ear. It's about 2 to 3 minutes per each ear, and you're going to hear these chimes and tap the screen when you hear it. It's going to be different volume levels and different frequencies. And again, this is mimicking the exact experience that you would have if you were to take in a professional audiogram in an audiologist's office. After you've gone through and completed the hearing test, you'll get your hearing test results. Now, these are not my results right here. These are actually a friend that I worked with on creating some feature stories related to the hearing aid for the AirPods Pro 2. And if you can see, she has mild hearing loss. That is the most popular diagnosis for the 1.5 billion people worldwide who do suffer from hearing loss. And she knew that she had genetic hearing loss, but she never wanted to do anything about it. She thought that maybe it wasn't as high of a priority in health as some of other things, and I think that's maybe a common trend. So with this now, she knows that she has hearing loss. She knows that it's symmetrical. That's part of it too, because if you have asymmetrical hearing, which means different levels of hearing loss in your ear, the AirPods will be able to adjust from that. And from there, you're able to set up your hearing aid feature. Hearing aid feature, the hearing aid feature is automatically tuned based on your hearing test results. You don't have to do anything.
But you have to turn on a setting that is for hearing aids.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So as I said, after you've just gone through that test, you'll be prompted right there to set up hearing aid. After that, your hearing aids are on. You can turn that feature off at any time if you want. There's even a toggle. You can turn up using the little stems, increase the effectiveness or make it lower if that's something to your preference. And to make things even easier, right in the control center of your iPhone, well, you'll have your hearing aid settings right here. You don't have to go into another third-party app. That's something that if you buy another over-the-counter hearing aid from a brand like Sony or some other audio brands, you have to use a third-party app and go into that every time you want to make those changes.
So you'd needless to say, want to toggle this on and off, because if you're listening to music, if you're streaming a show, you'd be picking up conversations everywhere. You want to turn this setting on when you're having a conversation like we are?
No, actually, the setting has a media control option that you can enable, and that way it will know if you're watching something on your phone, listening to music, and it will prioritize that. Then there's a conversation boost setting. When it knows that you're having a conversation, it detects your jaw moving, it detects there's sound coming directly from you. It will then turn to focus on that specifically.
This is truly astonishing. Okay,
It really
so
is.
how'd it work for your friend that has some hearing issues?
So as with any new time you're using a hearing aid or any medical device for that matter, there is going to be a learning curve. It may seem a little odd at first, and even when I tried it on her settings, we both noticed a little bit of reverb. But after we were sitting in a noisy cafe for 30 minutes, she said it felt completely natural, which amazed me. And she said she was actually very surprised to feel that she hadn't had to ask me once to repeat myself, which is not a common occurrence. And I say, quote, she said she would have to take a back seat in conversations in a noisy place like we were if you're out to dinner with your friends. And she would wait until people were in a more quiet environment to actually have a meaningful conversation. And she feels like she doesn't maybe need to do that anymore if she wears these out. And these aren't as much of like a faux pas. Like no one's gonna really judge you if you're out wearing your AirPods versus if you have, something that maybe looks like a hearing aid or you had to buy it at the store with a sign on the box that said over-the-counter hearing aid. I feel like there's a little bit more like a faux pas with that.
There was a ton of attention given the release of Apple Intelligence. Just your personal opinion, is this almost a bigger deal, a bigger evolution for Apple?
Hands down, this is my favorite thing that Apple has released this year. Apple Intelligence is great, but you're talking about having an iPhone 15 Pro or the new iPhone 16 in order to start using those features. That's actually a small percentage of the total amount of Apple iPhone users out there. So something like this, and I was actually at an event where my friend was interviewing Tim Cook. I overheard it a little bit, and she asked him about why he thinks Apple is able to, make these types of health innovations, and he said it was his top priority. He says he thinks that Apple is going to be making the biggest impact in the health space.
Great for Tim. Finally, I do want to ask you your thoughts on Apple Intelligence,
Sure.
because you have played with it a little bit.
I have
What'd you
played with
think?
it a little bit. There are 3 key pillars there: the new Siri experience, the creative tools in the Photos app, and the ability to make emojis. And then the third part, and the part that I think people are maybe going to have the most immediate benefit from, are the new writing tools that are built into mail, text, etc. And it's going to transform how easy it is to summarize your Notes app or get a priority list of the emails that have been sent to you that day, because who has time to shift through, 400, 500 emails in the morning. The other great part of that too is if you're not sure how to respond to emails, you'll get some suggestions, and you'll even be able to change the tone of your message to fit the type of conversation you're having.
Okay, so that does actually excite me and think I need to get this new iPhone. You'll have to wait for that Genmoji that's reportedly coming with the next software update. Kate, this has been really informative, really interesting. Kate Kozuch is from Tom's Guide. Check them out, tomsguide.com, and that's where you'll find all of her pieces about these incredible hearing aids from Apple. Thank you.
Thank you.